What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Hanna Horror, and today, guys, we're going to talk about Escape from LA, the newest Scream Factory Blu-ray, available now. So I have done rankings of the 80s and 90s John Carpenter films, and I think I put this one last. And to be completely honest, it's been a very long time since I've seen Escape from LA, but my only experience with the film is a Japanese Laserdisc. But I do remember saying, you know what though, I still like the movie, it's just that I really love other John Carpenter films. But I just finished watching this movie as well as all the special features, so this is going to be the freshest review possible of Escape from LA, the 90s John Carpenter sequel to Escape from New York. The first thing I can say about Escape from LA in an overall sense is I like the film. I really like the opening sequence of Escape from LA. I miss movies when the title cards and the intro was just font, cool music, and not showing scenes and glimpses of what's going to be shown in the film. I really appreciate just like the ambiguity and the just like get ready sense that films like this did, and you get that in Escape from LA. And of course, John Carpenter music is always going to be a home run. One thing about John Carpenter is he loves using the same actors as much as possible, as do a lot of directors. And one great thing about this movie, which I couldn't remember until watching it this time, is Stacy Keach is in this movie. What a great gem of an actor, what a great added bonus. We saw him in Body Bags, which is where the relationship started. Like, I really like seeing Stacy Keach in this movie. It's really, really great to see him. So, Escape from LA, as I've said, it's the sequel to Escape from New York, and it's Snake Plissken on his next mission, this rundown sharpshooter he's just a beat down, just really dry guy. And I almost wonder if, like, the Plissken character is almost spoofing, like, a lot of the serious action stars in movies, because he's so deadly serious with the eye patch, and he talks like this the entire movie. It's funny to me. I don't take it seriously, but Kurt Russell is clearly, like, in the zone in this movie, as he was in Escape from New York, and I'm a Kurt Russell mark, I'll be honest, so I loved him in this movie. One thing that I thought was cool about this movie that I actually enjoyed a little bit more than Escape from New York is Kurt Russell is in his early 40s in here, and some of my favorite action stars, my favorite movies with those stars when they were in their early 40s, where they're still young, but they've been around the block and they can kick your butt. They're a little bit rougher in the face. They're a little bit more got a little bit more angst and anger because they've been there and they've done that. Stallone was doing some cool movies in the 90s like Cliffhanger. Schwarzenegger was doing, in my opinion, his greatest movie, Last Action Hero. And Kurt Russell has that same vibe, that mid-90s, early mid-90s. I've been around, but I can still just beat everyone's butt in this place. That rougher look, and I liked that for Escape from LA. It's like my vibe for action films. So I really liked his style and his, just like the time of his life in here. It's just great for this type of movie, I think. One of the most fun scenes in this movie that I really liked was like the basketball scene. It was so ridiculous, but like, for me it was pulled off. It was like this Armageddon style, basketball court, in the crazed LA, and Kurt has to make all these baskets, and if he misses, he gets shot to oblivion by everybody in the crowd. And it's so silly, but I liked it. I really did like the scene. It was funny. Me and my wife were like, this is crazy. This dude is shooting basketballs, and if he misses, he dies. And Snake Plissken is still so serious in the scene, so the contrast with what he has to do and his character, it's funny. You can't take LA seriously, and there are some things that I wouldn't say are unforgivable, but I'll mention them. So let's just get started at some of the things that I don't think are perfect with Escape from LA. Okay, there's one scene in particular. Now, I will say this. Escape from LA for me was about 80% fun, excitement, great, silly, John Carpenter, 90s, Kurt Russell funness, right? The surfing scene, while I don't want to necessarily say it's just ridiculous in the movie, because I just talked about a basketball scene that I did like, the surfing scene was not the greatest CGI I've ever seen, and it just looked so silly. It looked ridiculous. But thankfully, as soon as Kurt gets off of the water surfing and he gets onto the back of Steve Buscemi's car, that scene is real legit. There's a stunt guy holding on to the back in the alley, and they're crashing around, and that was cool. So I don't know if redeeming is necessarily the proper word, but at least we got to that pretty quick. The surfing scene didn't linger on too much. I give them credit. It's the 90s. CGI was just coming around, but It's pretty silly looking. Can't not mention Bruce Campbell's scene. He is the futuristic plastic surgeon guy who's like in this pit of people who have all just had an immense amount of plastic surgery and they look horrible and their faces are deformed. And the only way they can try to fix one another is to get fresh bodies in there to steal their body parts to then be sewn on. And Bruce is disguised a little bit, but you can tell it's him by a certain you-know-what part of his body, his chin. And he's funny. His scene isn't big, it isn't too long, but it's fun, it's funny, and it's great seeing Bruce Campbell in the movie. It is. When you get to the air gliding scene where they get on the air gliders and chop down to the big battle arena, that had that Army of Darkness feel. It wasn't as executed as well in terms of just like how fun it looked and was, but it was pretty good. Like, I like the big final scene. It's a fun movie. Escape from LA is a fun movie. It is a mid-90s action movie. And you know what? For some of the faults that this movie has, and sure, it's far from a perfect film, I'd still rank it as my lowest John Carpenter 90s film. But I still like the film a lot. Like, I recommend, especially if you're a John Carpenter fan, I do recommend Escape from LA, but it's a mid-90s action film, and it's silly, and there's some stuff that doesn't actually age well. But you know what? I kind of miss movies like this in a sense. Just like the big, over-the-top, silly, fun action movies. I feel like that's gone. Like, it's kind of gone. And, you go back and revisit movies like this and Demolition Man and, like I said, Last Action Hero. I miss those kinds of movies. They were so fun. They broke rules. They took risks. And they didn't always succeed, whether it be box office or visually. But you know what? They all had, like, a certain charm and identity to them. And I really miss these types of movies. Because I do feel this movie is like a cousin to, like, a Demolition Man or something. Overall, I do think Escape from LA is a really fun ride with a couple scenes that you have to just say, oh God, let's get past this little part and then we're back to it. Now, whether I like this better than Escape from New York, I don't know. I think Escape from New York is probably the better film. But you know what? There's an audience for movies like this. That mid-90s funny action, Judge Dredd, stuff. All that kind of stuff. It's fun. And I would be lying if I said I did not laugh and have a good time with my wife watching Escape from LA. We loved seeing Steve in here, Bruce Campbell, Stacy Keach. Kurt was funny. Kurt was great because he's such this serious character. Like I said, you've got Snake Plissken throwing basketballs in an Armageddon basketball court. It's you can't take it seriously. You got to have fun. And I had a blast. And I had the sound bar on, the Blu-ray. And let's how about this? Let's talk about the Blu-ray. Let's do that. The Blu-ray looked great. What I loved about this transfer, and Scream Factory usually does this. I can't really recall a time where they ever did that weird, noise reduction thing or the visuals. I think Predator had a Blu-ray where they just completely like shine the picture up and it was just like, this looks weird. No, it doesn't happen here. This looks just sharp, but you can still see that film grain, but it just looks really good. It looks really good. The sound was amazing, millions of gunshots, so it's loud, bombastic, and the special features are not huge, but this is what we do have. We've got 6 interviews. 2 notable ones are Bruce Campbell and Stacy Keach. Stacy Keach gives a really nice interview talking about his experience. And Bruce Campbell, I see this as a negative, but I also can see this on the half glass full type of thing. He gives a phone interview. Now, I understand that Scream Factory doesn't just spend a ton of money to get these special features made. I look at it like this. You could have no Bruce Campbell interview because they just couldn't pay to go see him or pay to meet with him or whatever. Or you can get a 9-minute phone conversation where he talks about his experience with the film. And I sat there for the 9 minutes and I enjoyed what he said. He gave a good 9-minute talk about his experience, how much he liked John, the funness he had on the movie. So I take that as a plus. I don't want that to become the norm, but I am so glad that they at least did that and threw it on here as opposed to just not having anything Bruce Campbell, because we all wanted to hear from Bruce. So all in all, I like Escape from LA. Like I said, it's still my lowest tiered 90s John Carpenter film, but it's certainly not his worst film by any standard. I would say that. It's a fun movie. If you're a bigger fan of the 90s action style, silly, fun, like I said, the Dreads, the Last Action Heroes, you'll dig this. You will. You'll have a fun time. This is a beer and pizza movie, Escape from LA, and I can clearly see myself doing this on the Firefly Family Podcast watch party we do on my friend's channel. Great stuff. So thank you guys for watching this video. Check out Escape from LA. I think you'll have a good time.